part.
Good afternoon.
See, today they require so much more nudity on the screen. I really like the...
A water pistol.
Pass me that rope. More the suggestion. And actually, you know, I was covered everywhere. It mattered. Look.
I don't know.
I mean, you couldn't do that today.
Wow, you're hurting my arm.
I'll break it unless you tell me where those bullets go.
No, I can't.
She just seems so out of control.
One of the most surprising discoveries we made that day was how physically aggressive Bond was.
I mean, of course, when you think about it, she's not really inviting him to have sex.
No.
That would not be very correct today.
We are two of a kind.
Maybe that was the way the world was at that time. Maybe women were supposed to put up a little bit of a fight before they gave in. That was part of the sexual game. I mean, when I look at it on screen, it's like it's somebody else. That is so far gone that it's not a real living memory anymore.
Okay. So what I want to know is what you want to do with your degree in theater.
Lois Chiles has spent her life committed to acting. When she's not shooting, she teaches at the University of Houston, passing on her experiences in movies like The Great Gatsby and The Way We Were. But when Lois was first approached to play the leading lady in Moonraker, she had some misgivings about taking the role.
It was a kind of a different time for women because women were struggling to be equal, and all of a sudden it wasn't okay to be sexual or attractive as a woman. Like I made the Bond movie. Women were burning their bras at that point.
Good afternoon.
Can I help you?
Yes, my name is Bond. James Bond. I'm looking for Dr. Goodhead.
You just found her.
A woman?
Your powers of observation do you credit, Mr. Bond?
I mean, first of all, the name, Dr. Holly Goodhead. But how am I going to explain that one to my parents?
Dr. Goodhead.
I can only hope your presence here is a coincidence, Mr. Bond. I dislike being spied on.
I was a child of my generation, and I was concerned about this. Women were saying we weren't supposed to be sexy, or it wasn't a good thing to be thought sexy. So I was, Bond was certainly, that was what they were selling.
Détente.
Agreed.
Trust.
Out of the question.
So when I got there and read the script and realized that this character was going to be strong, and it was going to be the first time that a woman could do what Bond could do. She could fly the plane, she was a scientist, and I thought this could be really fun. But I thought, after all, I'll be in a spacesuit most of the time, so, how sexy could that be?
My God, what's Bond doing?
I think he's attempting re-entry, sir.
That was the most difficult thing to shoot. It was so uncomfortable. God, we were on wires and, little thing underneath the problem. It was just so bizarre, that. And I didn't like the line. I had to say, take me around the world one more time.
Take me around the world one more time.
I think there's some sexual connotation besides the obvious one.
We're all children of our generations. And just as Lois felt connected to the women of the 70s, I felt the same about the 80s. What I didn't know was that James Bond would come into my life and bring me into the exclusive world of the Bond girls. Carrie Lowell and I share a common bond. Timothy Dalton. She starred opposite Tim in License to Kill in 1989.
I saw you at Hella's office. You're working with them.
No! We may have shared the same leading man, but our characters couldn't have been more different.
So you were number 16, I was number 15. My character, of course, had no physical ability because she was a musician, so she was a disaster.
Mine kicked ass. She was firing guns and, you know.
Get it started.
The audition happened in Los Angeles, and I remember the description was, it's a Bond girl, but she's different from all the Bond girls. She's tough, and she's in charge, and when you first meet her, she's hanging out in a bar with all the guys.
He's with me. Keep your hands on the table.
So I thought, okay, great. I put on my jeans and a pair of cowboy boots and a leather jacket and a T-shirt, and I went to the audition. And they took one look at my costume and said, you know, this was a Friday. You have to come back on Monday. You can't audition for a Bond film in this costume. You have to put on something tight and sexy, and that's how you have to do it. So I spent the weekend going to really cheesy, contempo casual stores, and I found this pink lame zip-up halter that sort of zipped all the way up, and it was really fitted, and it probably cost $9.99. And that's what I wore to the audition on Monday.
And they loved it?
And they loved it.
Well, if you're going to stay and be my executive secretary, you'd better look the part. Here, buy yourself some decent clothes.
And I was meant to be, as a CIA operative, and I remember there was a scene when we're leaving the cocaine factory, and Benicio del Toro, I mean, who knew that he was going to rise to such greatness? And Timothy, he's tied his wrists, and he's hanging by this little prong as he's about to go into the grinder for the cocaine. His little feet are about to get mangled. And Benicio is coming up and trying to cut the ropes in order to kill James. And,
oh, I remember, yes.
And in fact, sliced Timothy's hand. We had to stop, and they sewed him up, and then they put him back. Yeah, because he was a bit of a wild card back then, Benicio.
A stallion.
Yeah, so I'm meant to pull out my gun and start shooting at Benicio to kill him.
You're dead.
So I pull out my gun, and I start to shoot at him, and I'm going... And they're saying, why are you squinting? Why are you flinching? So I had to learn to go like this and just shoot and keep my eyes open, because you don't flinch when you're a CIA operative shooting a gun.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Did you shoot guns?
I shot a gun once, and I can't shoot. My character can't shoot. I do it all wrong.
Fire, Bond, fire. Shoot her. What are you waiting for?
So from that moment, when Tim got to meet my character, it was just like, oh, she does everything wrong. But, you know, I'll deal with the real world. You just stay put.
Right. Did you guys ski together?
No, we were in this tello case.
Sorry.
Did you actually have steering in it?
Yeah, I had steering, and I was the one steering it, and Timothy was much heavier, so it tended to want to go towards the right, where the camera crew was, right at the bottom, and just turned out to be a nightmare because we had a couple of accidents, and I thought Tim at one point had broken his neck, and he was like so pissed off with me, you know. It's kind of the relationship we had anyway in the movie. He kind of treated me like my character, like a schoolgirl, like I don't know anything.
You were fantastic. We're free.
Cara, we're inside a Russian airbase in the middle of Afghanistan.
I remember we had to do this scene when we first kissed.
90.
70.
80.
It comes time to do our scene, and
and
Tim's, you know, smoking, as he always does, silk cut, and then telling me how I should actually be kissing him.
What?
I remember thinking that my character was very sort of aggressive, CIA, you know, undercover agent, and that if somebody was going to kiss me, I was going to, you know, kiss them back. And Tim going through this sort of long explanation about how if I really wanted to seduce him, that I should, in fact, just sort of brush his lips, you know, gently. So we did that, and that's what they printed, I guess. But I adored him.
He's wonderful, and he's such a generous supporting actor.
Now, why don't you wait until you're asked?
Well, why don't you ask me?
Oh, sex with Bond, yeah. Did we or did we not sleep with Bond? And,
well, I'll tell you who did sleep with Bond was my nemesis, Talisa Soto.
That's right, because you get pissed off the next day.
I get pissed off, and in fact, there's a scene when I'm meeting Q for the first time.
Good night, Q.
Sweet dreams, Mr. Bond.